The first thing you will notice of Volzerk Monsters and Lands Unknown is that it is an absolutely stunning game. The gameplay loop is fairly enjoyable, consisting of defeating and taming different monsters and gradually getting stronger. There are a few games in the genre that match its polish, but a few aspects make it less than an enjoyable experience if you're planning on seeing the journey all the way through. The actual gameplay mechanics are both very simple in some respects and insanely complex in others. For starters, you fight monsters, or as the game calls them, Malmons, in real-time combat, striking and dodging incoming attacks. Upon defeating a monster, you have a random chance to tame it, and if successful, it will join your party. There are trash mobs called mini-mons, and these can be acquired through defeating any one of them. These aspects of the games incentivized me to defeat every monster that I came across, at least for the earlier parts of the game. Gameplay takes place on either a story mission where you must defend a certain point, defeat a specific monster, or find certain material, or an expedition, which allows you a little bit more freedom in terms of navigating the area, and monsters will occasionally respawn within them. The game also offers cross-rating component, allowing you to mix and match different monsters as you attempt to unlock all 400 plus of them. Volzerk has a lot going for it. A rich environment, a servable story that can last roughly 15 hours depending on the amount of exploration that you do, and a great variety of monsters for you to encounter and catch. The biggest upside the game has is these very monsters. There are a few games in the genre that capture the feeling of making you want to complete the entire Monsterpedia. Something to note is that there are several monsters that have 4 variations for each element. The base monsters each have pretty unique styles and designs that make them stand out from one another. The game's most enjoyable feature, however, is this crossbreeding section, where you'll be able to create new and stronger monsters. This is because every crossbred monster increases its generation and patches of attributes available to it. Unfortunately, the game suffers from a few major shortcomings that keep it from being a must-recommend. For starters, the process of crossbreeding multiple times is locked behind mainline story events. This means that for you to get better monsters and the opportunity to create better ones, you'll have to go through a significant distance of the main storyline. This led me to happily complete the full Monsterpedia for the first area, but I felt increasingly disincentivized from doing so in subsequent areas, as I felt that my progress on my character's stats was capped. Speaking of capped progress, there are 2 major progression walls that I came across while playing. The first was about halfway through, and this forced me to invest all of my resources into one character, as spreading it out felt a lot less like a viable option given the limited resources. The second came near the end of the main storyline. Here, I maxed out Malmons, a pretty high-level character, and still felt like clearing instant areas was a slog or brutally difficult. I had not used any revives until I reached this point in the game, and at which point I began to use several of them. It got to the point where I no longer wanted to finish the main storyline campaign despite being so close. The last thing to mention here is the game's monetization. While it's not a gacha-style game in the sense that you are getting randomized characters from pools, it does have several characters for you to collect. You can purchase these directly, specifically choosing which ones you like. However, the problem is that the vast majority of the top to mid-level heroes are only accessible via real-life currency purchases. While you can make it through the game perfectly fine with the ones that the games provide you, or can be purchased with in-game currency, this left a bad taste in my mouth. Overall, Volzerk is a game that's worth checking out. Mixing monster catching and breeding while having a unique range of outcomes is something that it is least worth experiencing for a bit. If you're looking to complete a game, this one is sure to take a significant amount of your time. While there are some complaints about certain parts of the game becoming stale and some difficulty spikes, I would say that they only became apparent as you progress through a significant portion of the game, meaning that early on, you're sure to get some enjoyment out of it.